If you look at the coronation footage, as the king and queen leave the thrones and head for the exit, no one moves a limb, a muscle, when Camilla passes. And that was because they were angry with Camilla.
Why does everyone hate Princess Queen Camilla? From the moment her affair with Prince Charles came to light, Camilla Parker Bowles has been at the center of one of the biggest royal scandals in modern history. Her relationship with Charles, while he was married to the beloved Princess Diana, painted her as the villain in a dramatic love triangle that captured global attention. Decades later, as Queen Consort, the public's view of her remains divided. To many, she is completely insane, a woman whose actions forever tarnished the monarchy's image and whose presence still stirs deep resentment. The Diana factor, a permanent stain on Camilla's reputation. Princess Diana was adored across the globe. Her compassion, beauty, and connection to the public made her a beloved figure both within the royal family and outside of it. For many, Diana represented everything the monarchy had needed for years: a fresh, relatable, and human touch in a historically rigid institution. Her role as the young princess, married into a royal world filled with strict rules, immediately garnered sympathy. But it was Diana's struggles within her marriage to Prince Charles, particularly as the affair between Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles became public, that cemented her position as the eternal victim in the eyes of the world. From the very beginning, Diana outshined Camilla in every way. Diana's charm and ability to connect with people made her a media darling. In contrast, Camilla was seen as cold, calculating, and distant. The public saw Diana as a woman of the people, an outsider who was thrust into the royal family and suffered for it. Camilla, on the other hand, was perceived as the cause of Diana's suffering, the other woman who had destroyed the fairy tale marriage between the prince and his young bride. This perception was only intensified by Diana's own candid remarks. In her famous 1995 interview with Martin Bashir, Diana revealed the full extent of the turmoil in her marriage, famously stating, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." This one sentence not only revealed the affair between Charles and Camilla to the public, but also placed the blame squarely on Camilla's shoulders. The media, quick to latch onto any royal scandal, painted Camilla as the villain, the woman who had caused Diana's heartache and, by extension, the royal family's downfall. Public reaction to Charles and Diana's divorce was swift and brutal. When the couple officially split in 1996, just 4 years before Diana's tragic death, the world was firmly on Diana's side. Charles and Camilla's affair had been exposed, and people around the world were outraged. Diana had been wronged, and for many, Camilla was the sole reason for the collapse of the marriage. The media's portrayal of Camilla during this time was relentless. Every headline and every tabloid story seemed to reinforce the idea that she was responsible for the destruction of Diana's marriage. The press had a field day, publishing stories of secret meetings between Charles and Camilla, the strain on Diana, and the eventual collapse of their relationship. It was as though the public could not get enough of the drama. As a result, Camilla quickly became one of the most hated figures in Britain. This hatred wasn't confined to the UK, though. It spread across the globe. Diana's appeal was international, and so was the backlash against Camilla. Wherever the royal family was discussed, so was the affair. And Camilla was always the villain. To this day, Camilla's image has never fully recovered from the public's association of her with the end of Diana's marriage and the subsequent heartbreak that followed. What made matters worse for Camilla was that Diana wasn't just seen as a victim, she was a symbol. Diana became an emblem of grace under pressure, a woman wronged by both her husband and the institution of the monarchy, yet one who continued to dedicate her life to charity work and public service. She was the mother of the future king and queen, and her connection to the British public was unbreakable. Diana's role as a mother, humanitarian, and survivor of a turbulent royal marriage only made the public love her more and hate Camilla even more fiercely. While Charles and Camilla eventually married in 2005, many never forgave Camilla for her role in Diana's suffering. Even though years had passed since the infamous affair, the public's memory of Diana remained vivid. Many felt that Camilla could never take Diana's place, especially in the hearts of the British people. Despite her consequent efforts to rehabilitate her image, Camilla could never match Diana's influence. In the public's eyes, she remained the woman who had come between Charles and Diana. This permanent stain on Camilla's reputation has followed her for decades, even as she stepped into her role as Queen Consort. To many, Camilla is completely insane, a woman who knew the damage she was causing and proceeded anyway. It is as if Diana's memory has locked Camilla in a permanent state of being disliked, distrusted, and blamed for some of the royal family's darkest moments. As Camilla continues her role as Queen Consort, the question remains: can she ever escape the shadow of Diana, or will her reputation always carry the stain of being the woman who hurt the people's princess, the royal marriage, a reluctant Queen Consort? After years of intense public scrutiny and backlash, Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles finally tied the knot on April 9, 2005. Their wedding took place at Windsor Guildhall and marked the culmination of a relationship that had spanned decades, weathered controversy, and survived scandal. For many, this marriage was seen as the final chapter in a royal love affair that had caused deep wounds. However, for others, the union of Charles and Camilla represented an insult to the memory of Princess Diana. The significance of their marriage cannot be overstated. Charles and Camilla's relationship had been one of the most controversial topics in British royal history, drawing comparisons to past royal scandals, such as the abdication of Edward VIII. By marrying Camilla, Charles was signaling that, despite the public outcry, he would remain loyal to the woman he had loved for most of his life. For Camilla, this marriage was a long-awaited legitimization of her role in Charles's life. Yet, it also thrust her deeper into the spotlight, a place where she had long been vilified. She was given the title of Duchess of Cornwall upon their marriage, a conscious decision to avoid the more contentious title of Princess of Wales. While Camilla was legally entitled to the title, she chose not to use it out of respect for Diana's legacy. This decision did little to quell the public's anger, though. Many still viewed her as an interloper, someone unworthy of being associated with the title that had once belonged to the beloved Diana. Public outcry over Camilla becoming a member of the royal family persisted. The media continued to fuel the narrative of the other woman, and Camilla's attempts to step into royal duties were met with skepticism and disdain. Even though her marriage to Charles had made her a legitimate part of the royal family, the shadow of the past lingered, and public opinion remained divided. Adding to this complexity was Queen Elizabeth II's initial reluctance to accept Camilla. As the head of the Church of England, the Queen was in a difficult position. Charles and Camilla's relationship had blossomed from an extramarital affair, and this was something the Queen could not easily overlook given the Church's stance on divorce and remarriage. For many years, the Queen kept her distance from Camilla. She even refused to acknowledge her publicly. It wasn't until 2000 that the Queen began to extend the olive branch by attending a party at Highgrove House, which was one of the first public signs that she was starting to warm to Camilla. The slow process of Queen Elizabeth II's acceptance of Camilla was a reflection of the public's feelings. While the Queen eventually gave her approval for the marriage, it was clear that this was not a relationship she had initially supported. It took years of quiet diplomacy and careful management for Camilla to be accepted as a member of the royal family. Behind the scenes, Charles had worked tirelessly to ensure that his relationship with Camilla would not jeopardize his future role as king, and the Queen's eventual approval was a key moment in that effort. In February 2022, the monarch made a significant announcement declaring that it was her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort once Charles ascended to the throne. This statement marked a turning point in Camilla's royal journey. The Queen's endorsement was seen as a final stamp of approval, solidifying Camilla's place in the royal hierarchy. However, even with the Queen's blessing, public opinion was still divided. Many royal observers pointed out that the public had not forgotten the affair, and while some had grown to accept Camilla over the years, others remained staunchly opposed to her ever becoming queen. The public's relentless judgment, "She is completely insane." Public opinion of Camilla has been shaped by years of negative perceptions. To this day, Camilla's name is often associated with words like manipulative, scheming, and untrustworthy. These labels have stuck. The narrative of her being completely insane persists among those who refuse to accept her as a legitimate member of the royal family. One of the most striking criticisms of Camilla came from Princess Diana herself. Diana's public statements during her famous 1995 interview with Martin Bashir added fuel to the fire. Diana's words painted Camilla in a deeply negative light, and for the public, this portrayal of her as the cause of Diana's suffering solidified their disdain. Even though this interview took place nearly 30 years ago, the image of Camilla as a homewrecker has been difficult to shake. Beyond Diana, several high-profile figures have continued to criticize Camilla over the years. In the early 2000s, when it became clear that Charles and Camilla would marry, various public figures spoke out against the union. Royal biographer Penny Junor described Camilla as difficult and demanding, with an overbearing presence that made it challenging for others in the royal circle to work with her. This perception, that Camilla is not just manipulative but also domineering, is one that many critics have latched onto. One of the more famous critiques came from former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. While he was careful not to publicly disparage members of the royal family, it was widely reported that Blair had his reservations about Camilla. His concern was how the public would react to her marriage to Charles, and how that could affect the future of the monarchy. In a leaked private conversation, Blair is alleged to have remarked that bringing Camilla into the royal fold would not heal the wounds of the past, but might reopen them. Even after Camilla officially became part of the royal family, the media continued to highlight her flaws rather than her contributions. Tabloids regularly featured stories that painted her as out of touch with the public and uninterested in the duties of a royal. Articles detailing her supposed temper, her difficulty in managing royal engagements, and her strained relationships with other members of the family dominated the headlines. It seemed that no matter how much she tried to blend into her new role, Camilla was forever painted. It's worth noting that Camilla's critics often paint her as manipulative and untrustworthy. They argue that her actions over the years have been driven by a desire for power and status rather than love or duty. Many believe that her relationship with Charles was part of a calculated effort to rise within the royal ranks, and her eventual marriage to him was simply the culmination of years of scheming. These views are, of course, deeply divisive, but they have lingered for decades and continue to influence how she is perceived today. But despite these negative perceptions, Camilla has worked hard to prove her worth as Queen Consort. However, her efforts are often overshadowed by the public's lingering distrust. For every positive story about Camilla's charitable work, there are whispers of her past actions, and the question of her suitability for her role. Among older generations, particularly those who lived through the Charles-Diana-Camilla love triangle, she is still seen as the woman who destroyed a fairy tale marriage. For many of these people, The scars of Diana's heartbreak have never healed, and Camilla will forever be the antagonist in that story. Among younger generations, however, there is a greater willingness to accept Camilla as Queen Consort, though many still view her with suspicion. Princess Anne's cold reception and Camilla's struggles with the royal family. From the moment Camilla Parker Bowles became an official member of the royal family, she faced resistance from within. One of her biggest challenges was her strained relationship with Princess Anne. The princess is known for her no-nonsense attitude and dedication to royal duty. She was reportedly less than thrilled about her brother's marriage to Camilla. Their relationship, particularly in the early years of Charles and Camilla's marriage, was marked by tension and discomfort, adding another layer of difficulty for Camilla as she tried to integrate into royal life. Princess Anne has long been regarded as one of the more traditional members of the royal family. She is known for her remarkable work ethic and was a steadfast supporter of royal protocol and the monarchy's established traditions. To her, Camilla was seen as a disruptor, someone whose very presence challenged the fabric of royal life. Anne's initial judgment of Camilla was harsh. She reportedly saw her new sister-in-law as unfit for the role of a royal, particularly given her history with Charles and her involvement in the breakdown of his marriage to Diana. While Anne is known for keeping her opinions private, those close to her have said that she harbored significant doubts about Camilla's ability to fulfill the responsibilities of royal life. This cold reception from Princess Anne wasn't just personal. It reflected a broader sentiment within certain circles of the royal family. Camilla was seen as an outsider, not just because of her past, but also because of her demeanor. Where Princess Diana had been a global icon of grace and glamour, Camilla was more down-to-earth. And this stark contrast did not work in her favor when trying to win over members of the royal family, especially Anne, ever the protector of royal tradition, seemed to feel that Camilla was simply not royal material. One of the key factors in this strained relationship was the history between Anne and Camilla's ex-husband, Andrew Parker Bowles. Before Camilla married Andrew, Princess Anne had a romantic relationship with him. Although their relationship didn't last, largely because Andrew was Catholic and therefore not a suitable match for a royal, Anne remained close to him. This shared history likely added an element of awkwardness to Anne's relationship with her new sister-in-law. Reports suggest that Anne and Camilla kept their distance from each other for years, with Anne preferring to stay away from Camilla as much as possible. Navigating the cold reception from Princess Anne and other members of the family was one of Camilla's biggest challenges in her early years as Charles's wife. While she had been a part of Charles's life for decades, becoming an official member of the royal family brought new expectations, pressures, and a level of scrutiny she hadn't experienced before. Fitting into royal life was no easy task for someone who had spent most of her life as a private citizen. The formality and rigidity of royal protocols were difficult to adjust to, and Camilla often struggled to find her place within the family. One of the most challenging aspects of integrating into royal life was the pressure to live up to the public image that Diana had left behind. Diana had been adored by the public and members of the royal family alike. Her warmth, compassion, and charisma had set a high bar for anyone who would come after her. For Camilla, stepping into the role of the Duchess of Cornwall and later Queen Consort meant constantly being compared to Diana, a comparison she could never fully escape. The legacy of Diana cast a long shadow over Camilla's role within the family and made it difficult for her to forge genuine connections with key members of the royal household. While Prince William and Prince Harry publicly supported their father's marriage, it was no secret that they were deeply protective. Camilla's relationship with William and Harry was reportedly cordial but distant, especially in the early years. Harry, in particular, expressed in interviews that he harbored some discomfort with the relationship. He noted that while he didn't see Camilla as an evil stepmother, their relationship was not especially close. Over time, Camilla worked hard to build bridges with her new family. However, the tension with Princess Anne never fully dissipated. While the two women now maintain a polite relationship, reports suggest that they are not particularly close. Camilla's more relaxed approach to royal life contrasts sharply with Anne's no-nonsense attitude, and these differences in personality and outlook have continued to shape their interactions. Anne has remained somewhat skeptical of Camilla's more laid-back style, even as both women have found their respective places within the royal family. The Queen Consort controversy. When Camilla Parker Bowles officially became Queen Consort following the ascension of King Charles III, it reignited a public debate that had been simmering for decades. While some have grown to accept Camilla's role within the royal family, her ascension to Queen Consort has not been universally welcomed. The title itself was once thought to be off-limits due to her controversial past. Public reaction to Camilla's new title has been sharply divided, as evidenced by various polls taken around the time of Queen Elizabeth II's passing and Charles's ascension. In one survey conducted shortly before Queen Elizabeth's death, over 55% of respondents supported Camilla being given the title of Queen Consort, a significant shift from the overwhelming opposition she faced in earlier years. However, nearly 30% were still firmly against the idea, feeling that Diana's memory was too strong and Camilla too controversial to ever be fully accepted in that role. The results reflected a nation still grappling with the complicated legacy of its royal family, with Camilla's past still coloring public perceptions. The generational divide in how Camilla is perceived is striking. Older generations tend to hold on to their loyalty to Diana. For them, the idea of Camilla stepping into the role of Queen Consort feels like a betrayal of Diana's memory. The scandals that rocked the royal family in the 1980s and 1990s left a deep impression, and for many older Britons, the pain of those years has not faded. The phrase, "There were three of us in this marriage," remains etched in their minds, a reminder of the heartbreak Diana endured. On the other hand, younger generations, many of whom did not experience the media frenzy of the Diana years firsthand, tend to view Camilla with more nuance. For them, Camilla is seen as a woman who has dedicated herself to supporting Charles and fulfilling her royal duties, rather than the villain who wrecked a marriage. While Diana's legacy still holds immense power, younger royal followers seem more willing to accept Camilla for who she is now, rather than for her past. However, even among younger generations, there is a lingering sense of unease about Camilla's role, particularly given the ongoing adoration of Diana's memory. The media has played a pivotal role in shaping public opinion on Camilla's ascension to Queen Consort. Throughout the years, the press has vacillated between harsh criticism and cautious support. In the early 2000s, as Camilla's relationship with Charles became more public, media outlets portrayed her as a calculating figure, often using unflattering comparisons to Princess Diana. Yet, over time, as Camilla undertook royal duties with quiet dignity, some corners of the media softened their stance. Even so, the media continues to revisit the past, and Diana's name frequently comes up in any discussion about Camilla, making it difficult for her to escape the shadow of her predecessor. Public sentiment around Camilla's title as Queen Consort is a reflection of the ongoing struggle between tradition and modernity within the monarchy itself. For centuries, the role of the Queen Consort has been one of great prestige, but it also comes with immense scrutiny. Camilla's past makes her ascension uniquely controversial. Every public appearance and every royal duty performed by Camilla is inevitably weighed against the memory of Diana. Even in media coverage of major events like the Platinum Jubilee or Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, there were frequent references to Diana and what her role might have been if she was still alive. This constant comparison keeps Diana's legacy alive, and in doing so, keeps Camilla in a difficult position. No matter how well she performs as Queen Consort, the memory of Diana continues to influence public opinion. Camilla's efforts to win over the public, too little, too late? Over the years, Camilla Parker Bowles has made considerable efforts to rehabilitate her public image. She knew that she was entering the royal family with a history tainted by scandal and public disdain, but Camilla worked diligently to soften her persona and demonstrate her commitment to royal duties and charitable causes. But even with these efforts, the question remains, has it been enough to overcome decades of negative press, or are her efforts too little, too late? One of Camilla's primary strategies has been to align herself with charitable work, particularly causes that are personal and meaningful to her. She has focused much of her energy on issues like domestic violence, literacy, and osteoporosis, the latter of which is a cause close to her heart after both her mother and grandmother passed away from the disease. As the patron of numerous charities, including the National Osteoporosis Society and Women's Aid, Camilla has demonstrated a consistent dedication to raising awareness for important issues. She has also championed causes that aim to support survivors of sexual assault and domestic abuse, working to give a voice to vulnerable women in society. These efforts have undoubtedly softened her image in some quarters. While once seen as cold and calculating, Camilla has gradually earned the respect of those who see her charity work as genuine and impactful. Royal engagements, which were once dominated by Charles and other senior royals, now include Camilla in a more visible and active role. Her dedication to causes that don't always receive widespread attention shows that she is committed to making a difference, even if the public spotlight doesn't always follow. However, public responses to Camilla's efforts have been mixed. For some, these charitable endeavors have helped reshape their perception of her. But for others, no amount of charity work can erase the history that came before. And the press has not entirely abandoned its appetite for scandal. Even as Camilla's public image has softened, there remains an undercurrent of doubt and cynicism about her motivations. Stories that revisit her past continue to circulate. The media has been both an enabler of her rehabilitation and a constant reminder of her controversial history. Every major royal event, from her marriage to Charles to her ascension as Queen Consort, has been accompanied by a retelling of her involvement in one of the most notorious affairs in royal history. Camilla's efforts to win over the public may be seen as too little, too late for many. While she has undeniably worked hard to change the narrative around her, the lasting impact of decades of negative press makes it difficult for some to fully embrace her. For now, her public image is one of cautious acceptance, with lingering doubts that may never fully fade. Do you think Camilla will ever be loved as the Queen Consort? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear. For now, we're done. Catch you in the next video.